Hello everyone, this is Nitpicking Nerd, and I just watched the new Star Trek Discovery episode, which is the worst thing I ever saw in my life. And I'm not exaggerating, I barely was able to finish this episode. Just absolutely terrible in every way. The stupid writing, which is absolutely inexcusable this time. This is just every single moment something stupid happened which doesn't make sense, which contradicts stuff that happened previously on this very same show. I'm not even talking about what they are doing to the other Star Trek shows with the continuity. They even lack internal continuity. For example, in the end of season 1, Michael told Ash what happened to her parents, and it simply doesn't fit what we saw in the flashback in this episode, because she told Ash that first they killed her father, who tried to barricade the kitchen, and then they took their time with her mother, and that she was hearing it all from where she was hidden, and then the Klingons ate their dinner, and it sounded as if she was saying that the Klingons abused and maybe raped her mother and killed her slowly, but in the flashback that we see in this episode, we see that she disappeared with the Red Angel suit before her father died, and so this is a direct contradiction of what she said herself previously. And apparently she has a dream in the beginning of the episode in which she sees all of this, so she did remember it correctly. Then why did she tell the Ash Tyler the wrong story? So a total lack of internal continuity. The Red Angel suit itself doesn't make sense because they said in earlier episodes that the reason for why they knew it's from the future was because it has that advanced technology. And yet now we discover that it was actually built decades before this show. So this is not from the future, this is from the past. And so why did they assume it was from the future when this technology apparently is available even in the past? And of course the technology itself is even more ridiculous than the spore drive, because the suit not only is able to travel in time, it also is able to teleport her anywhere in the galaxy apparently, because she easily can go 50,000 light years to the other side of the galaxy with no problem, and it's a technology far beyond even what we saw in the older Star Trek shows which take place centuries later, and seems to be even more advanced than the spore drive. And the suit is kind of like Iron Man suit. I think they even used the exact same sound effect from Iron Man whenever he was putting on that suit. It's also very similar to that Wasp suit in Ant-Man, and the same kind of story. So she basically tried to save her family by going back into the past, but instead got stuck somewhere else and wasn't able to go back to her family. So it's kind of like the Wasp in Ant-Man. And this suit is powered by a time crystal, which is something that was mentioned that Mad had. That's what he used to create those time loops. I don't actually have that big of a deal with the time crystal, because at least it explains why this technology cannot be duplicated by everyone. If it requires some unique piece of something that cannot be replicated, then it explains why it's a one-time thing, that it's something special that no one else can ever use. So at least it explains that. And I guess the time crystal is also what makes the teleportation possible, because she's able to appear anywhere she wants in the galaxy, apparently with no limit. And she also explained why she moved those people from Earth 50,000 light years to the other side of the galaxy, was to check and see if she can change the past, and she saw that she can. And I guess maybe she also decided to save them from that moment, because that way it won't affect the timeline, because if they were all supposed to die in the past, then she could save them safely. And also in this way she can save humanity from the evil AI, because it's destroying all life in the galaxy. But she was able to transplant some humans on a distant planet, which I guess the AI didn't reach yet. Which is another contradiction with Spock's dialogue, because Spock said that all of life in the entire galaxy was wiped out. But apparently that's not true. If she's able to colonize other planets on the other side of the galaxy, that means the AI didn't yet reach the entire galaxy. So why did Spock say it's the entire galaxy? So it's another contradiction. I know that Spock saw that vision of all the planets blowing up, but did he just assume that that was the entire galaxy like that? I mean, he said all life in the galaxy. So he didn't really know that, he was just guessing. So again, a contradiction, doesn't make sense. But what really pisses me off more than anything else is the illogic of how Michael's mom tried to save the galaxy by appearing as the Red Angel in the past, instead of simply revealing the necessary information to someone. Like, why didn't she simply appear to Discovery in the beginning of season 2 and simply told them exactly what's going to happen, the danger of control, and that they should shut it down, and then prevent that information from the sphere from ever getting to it and all that stuff. So why didn't she simply talk with them? I guess maybe the suit prevented her from directly talking with people, but then why couldn't she write a message or something, leave them a box with a message of what they should do? Instead, she played all mysterious and appeared once in a while in different places, and never giving them instructions what to do, so it makes no sense. And now finally she tells them to delete all that information from the sphere, and then they try to do it but can't because the information in the computer is protecting itself, and so they can't delete it. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't you simply destroy the memory of your computer, or even destroy the whole computer if necessary, or even blow up the whole ship if necessary, because if the whole fate of the galaxy is at risk, then you should even sacrifice the whole ship if necessary to get rid of it. So why don't they do that? And I guess they also planted a clue to what will happen in the end of the season, because we know from the short track that at some point the ship will be in the far future after it's been stuck somewhere waiting. So I guess to get rid of it, because they cannot delete the information, they'll simply hide the ship somewhere to get it to the future or something like that. So it makes no sense. Why not simply purge the computer even physically if you have to? If you cannot delete it digitally, then just remove your computer parts and just destroy them. So what's the big deal? What's the problem of doing that? Or if it's so integral to the ship functions, then blow up the whole ship if necessary. The whole fate of the galaxy is at stake. And Michael's mom is suddenly behaving like she doesn't care about Michael, which doesn't make sense, because didn't she just come back specifically to save Michael? So that means that she does care about Michael, and before she appeared also to save all of them. So suddenly she behaves as if she doesn't care about anything, and she says something that she watched her die a lot of times already, so she doesn't care. That kind of sounds like a line from that movie, The Time Machine, which the main character tried to save his wife, but every time he changed, somehow she died in a different way, and in the end it was revealed that it's because if she lived, then he never would have built the time machine, and therefore it was as if fate itself wasn't letting him save her, because then it would be a paradox. So that was kind of a cool idea in that movie, but here it's done so badly that it's just ridiculous. So for some reason she's acting all hostile toward Michael, doesn't want to look at her, and of course in the very end of the episode suddenly she does love Michael, suddenly it's completely the other way around. So you wasted precious time, you have like 1 hour until they normally pull her back, and somehow Michael is able to go over all the logs of the Red Angel during that 1 hour, which also makes no sense. Also, Michael's mom explains why she needed Spock specifically, that only he could understand her because he had dyslexia. Somehow that makes him able to understand all this mess of the timeline, because I guess dyslexia, you see things backwards, so you would be able to understand temporal mechanics better, I guess. So that's their logic. So totally ridiculous. It kind of reminds me of what was done in the new Predator movie. It had that subplot of the predators want the DNA of autistic children because they think autism is the next stage of human evolution. They think that everyone who is autistic is actually a genius, and so autism is a good thing. It will save humanity. So the same kind of idea is here with Spock's dyslexia. So his disadvantage is actually an advantage. I suspect it all stems from this PC culture behind this whole show. Always they're trying to push ideas like, women are better than men, white men are the worst, and people with disabilities are great. Also, the wheelchair guy reappeared in this episode in the corridor just as Ash Tyler was talking with Section 31. I joked in previous reviews that I suspect the wheelchair guy is actually a spy, maybe for the Romulans, because every time someone talks about Section 31 in the corridors, always this wheelchair guy rolls next to them as if he wants to eavesdrop. And so Ash Tyler talks about his plan to steal the information for Section 31, and he does this conversation in the corridor for some reason. Why not go into some closed room to have this conversation with Leland, who by now has been possessed by the evil AI, and he's been transformed into a T-1000 kind of creature. So anyway, he told Ash Tyler to steal the sphere information from the Discovery. So Ash Tyler talks about his secret mission in the corridor as the wheelchair guy passes by, as always. And by the way, about the wheelchair guy, if they have that technology to create something like Arium, who is a cyborg with totally artificial body, then how come they cannot give legs to that poor fellow in the wheelchair? It doesn't make sense. Also, Pike later is supposed to be also disabled, so why didn't they give him a cyborg body? And also we see Geordi LaForge in the transporter room again. I wonder where has he been for the last few episodes. These characters on this show keep disappearing. And by the way, where is Admiral Kathleen Kennedy? Admiral Cornwall. She was on the ship in the previous episode, so why did she disappear? Where is that strange engineer woman from the first episode? So a whole bunch of characters keep appearing and disappearing for no reason. And now we see Geordi LaForge again. And we see Leland tied up because the evil AI wants to possess him. And I keep thinking to myself, if the AI doesn't have a body, if it's only able to appear as holograms, then how the hell was it able to tie him up in that chair? How was it able to lift him up and put him in that device if he didn't have anyone to actually do it physically? I guess maybe it used those little robots, because we saw in the show that they do have those little cleaning robots on the ship, so maybe the AI used such robots, but we should probably have seen that to make it make sense, otherwise it looks kind of silly. And there were a lot of similarities with the Borg in this scene, so I really hope they're not planning to say that this is all the backstory, the origin story of the Borg, because it wouldn't make any sense. The Borg are supposed to exist for at least 100,000 years according to Guinan, so it's not possible for them to come into existence only at this time. I guess they might use time travel, they might in the end of the season throw this evil AI into the past to some distant part of the galaxy, and then it can become the Borg, but I really hope it's not going to happen, because I don't want them to ruin the origin story of the Borg by tying it with this nonsense and revealing that it all started from humanity, because humanity is the center of everything. I really despise that idea. So anyway, we have a bunch of scenes between Michael and her mother, and it's supposed to be emotional and stuff, and I really don't care. I don't care about any of this, about any of them, and I just got bored out of my mind. Totally ridiculous, fake drama for the sake of it. It doesn't really serve anything for the story, and it makes no sense. And I think there was even like a sad violin music in the background when Michael was talking with her mother. If you listen closely to the background music, it sounds like someone's playing a sad violin song. So is that supposed to produce more emotions? It doesn't work. It's totally ridiculous, and it feels like a fake artificial drama just for the sake of it, when it doesn't make sense and it doesn't lead anywhere, and it gets solved immediately in the next time they meet, and so totally meaningless. Then they hatch up some kind of stupid technobabble plan which makes no sense, and then Spock says, "I love science." So their plan involves transferring all that sphere information into the Red Angel suit, and to send that suit into the far future where it will not cause any damage, which again doesn't really make sense. If you can transfer the information, then transfer it into something and then destroy it. Why do we need to preserve it at all? It doesn't make sense. And simply destroy the computer, and that's it. Why don't you remove all the memory storage capacity and just destroy it physically? So that's just so stupid. And in the next conversation between Michael and her mother, her mom tells her that she's been watching her all her life. She tells her all the times that she watched her somehow. And it's never explained how exactly. What do you mean you watched her? Were you there and you were cloaked, or what? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, they did establish that she could basically appear anywhere at any time, but now they make it sound as if she was always somewhere close by, always watching her without her knowledge, and it sounds really creepy. And I kept waiting for her to say, "I saw you banging that half-Klingon spy, Ash Tyler. She's been watching her entire life." And suddenly she's all emotional, suddenly she does care about her. So why did you make all that act previously pretending you don't care? So was that all for the sake of fake drama? Totally ridiculous. So anyway, Leland turns into the T-1000, because you know how I explained in previous reviews, they're stealing the ideas from the Terminator movies, and so in the previous episodes, Arium became kind of like the Terminator, and they had to sacrifice her in order to try to save the future, just like in the end of Terminator 2, they had to destroy the Terminator, and the whole evil AI plot is like Skynet, and Spock being in a mental institute because he saw visions of the future destruction. That's exactly like Sarah Connor. And now Leland becomes the T-1000, everybody shoots at him and he does nothing, he heals himself up immediately, so that looked very similar to the Liquid Terminator from Terminator 2. And someone even said something about we make the future, so that sounds a lot like No Fate But What We Make from the Terminator. So it's very obvious where they're taking all their ideas from. And as I said many times, I don't mind it if a movie or a TV show is borrowing an old idea to make it better. If it's an improvement, then it's fine. But here it's not an improvement. Here it's totally ridiculous and makes no sense and is just absurd in every way. Also, Michael's mom reveals that she knew nothing about those red signals, so I guess that's something that will happen later from her time, so someone else will create those signals. My guess is that that will be Michael herself. Maybe later on she will get her hands on the suit and will use it to try to correct things, and hopefully, I really hope they will try to fix everything by simply deleting the entire timeline from the beginning. That will be the only thing that will salvage all the mess that this show created. So anyway, she says she's not the one who created the red signals, so that means someone else did that. My bet is that it will be Michael. I guess Michael will be the Red Angel in the very end. She will get into that suit herself, and she will do some of the stuff that her mom didn't do. And in the very end, her mom gets sucked back into the wormhole together with the suit, even though the time crystal apparently was damaged or destroyed, but it gets sucked into the future anyway. So my biggest problem with this whole plot is how ridiculous is it that Michael's mom didn't simply warn them. She could have done that way, way long ago. Simply leave them a message explaining to them the exact danger that they're facing from this control AI, and simply tell them to destroy that sphere or to delete all the information from the sphere later. Just dump the whole computer core and destroy it. So what's the big deal about destroying this information? If they know of the danger, why don't they do something? So everybody are stupid on the show. It makes absolutely zero sense, and I really hope they're not planning to tie any of this with the Borg. If they try to explain the Borg backstory by saying that that is what Control became, that it fused with a human and then traveled back in time and became the Borg, that would be totally ridiculous. I hope they don't do that, because I don't want the Borg, who were the most awesome villains of probably of all of Star Trek, I don't want them to be tied with this garbage. And this show is absolute garbage now. Previously I was saying it's only part garbage, I was saying it is wholly garbage, but now I'm saying it's not just wholly garbage, but it should be hauled away as garbage. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.